Chapter 23 of Conquest with Zero Strength and Magic will be a big difficulty spike, so I decided to do some paralogs first. First up will be Percy's paralogue, who is Arthur and Mozu's son. I passed down Aptitude and HP plus 5, but I'm not really expecting much from him as a unit. Instead, I mainly aim to play his paralogue for its rewards. The concept of this chapter is that you can use the Dragon Vein scattered across a map to intimidate enemies for 500 gold per unit. This causes those enemies to retreat so you don't have to fight them. This map is often done more for the gold than the XP, and it's generally much easier to do earlier than later, because many of the enemies have effective weaponry and have a very quick aggression timer. If you don't move quickly, the entire map of 46 units will attack you, which in my case is not survivable. My efforts on this map are highly based on trial and error because this is the first time I've ever tried playing this paralogue. Most of my initial attempts just end with me being completely bodied by the aggression timer, where the entire map gangs up to kill me. But eventually I work out a plan that has some degree of success. The Dragon Veins will intimidate all units in a 3-tile radius, but the enemies do not often move in a convenient way, so I decided to take advantage of one of the only mechanics in the game that lets you move enemies, the Lunge skill. Camilla and her replicant can use Lunge, and so can Conquest because I briefly reclassed him into Malignite to get Savage Blow, before reclassing him to Mechanist to go for a Replicate. But this isn't enough to move all the enemies I need to, so I also equipped Lunge on Xander and Gunter, and I even end up dragging an underleveled Baruka off the bench, as well as a random Lunge Priestess that I captured in Chapter 20, giving me a total of 7 Lunge units. As I open the map, I send Xander and 4 Lunge units to the left and both Camillas to the right. With this, I'm able to lunge all the initial enemies into Dragon Vein range, intimidating 6 units on the left and 6 more on the right for a total of 6,000 bonus gold. I then move everyone into the upper right to bait enemies into yet another Dragon Vein. I defeat the first group of Wyvern Lords so I can snag a bigger group, and then manage to Dragon Vein 7 enemies for 3,500 gold, killing the rest to stay safe. I then move to the center and block a couple of enemies in the hopes of catching the rest of the map all in one go. But the enemies are too spread out for this to work, so I only end up Dragon Veining around half of them and then retreat with the rest of my units. Xander gets lunged around and is attacked repeatedly, but barely manages to survive because of a lucky shield gauge activation against the Wormslayer. I pop another Dragon Vein to catch some stragglers and then just decide to kill the remaining enemies for experience. Now, the only unit left on the map is Percy, who is normally aggressive, but funnily enough, this behavior has changed because he has 0 strength. Since he can't do any damage to any of my units, he will not try to move towards or attack anyone, breaking his AI and making him stationary. I go up and defeat him to complete the map, from which I have obtained a total of 14,500 gold, which is quite a lot.